All right, at the top of this worksheet, you need to make sure that you write in simple interest, because on your notebook quiz, this will be how I will ask you for this worksheet. This is probably not completely written in. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail with simple interest. Some words that you need to remember. Interest is the amount of money that you pay to borrow money, or the amount of money that you earn on a deposit. So the first activity that we just finished was really talking about a savings account. So that would be a situation where you deposited money. We also need to think about a situation where interest could be if you go buy a car, you go purchase a house, and you go and borrow the money. Then in that situation, interest is money that you have to pay in order to borrow the money. So interest could be money that you pay when you get a loan, or if you are saving money, then once you make a deposit, you can earn money, which is called interest, and that would be money that you're actually receiving back. So there's really two different types of interest. There's an annual interest rate. They'll usually tell you that in the problem. This is the percent of interest that you pay for money borrowed or earned for money deposited. And then there's going to be a simple interest formula, I equals PRT, where I is the interest earned, P is the principal or the amount of money that you start out with, R is the annual interest rate as a decimal, and T is time in years. So I'm just going to kind of underline these variables. So I is interest, P is principal or the amount of money that you start out with. R is the interest rate as a decimal, so you'll have to always move the decimal 2 places to the left. And T is time in years. Sometimes they're going to give you the time in months. If they give you the time in months, you're going to have to convert your months to years by dividing by 12. We also have another formula besides I equals PRT, and that's the balance formula. The sum of the principal P and the interest PRT. So I'm going to highlight these two equations that we're going to be using. So we'll be using the balance equation, and then we'll be using the interest equation, depending on what the problem is asking us to do. So in this example, it says Diana deposits $725 into a savings account that pays 2.3% simple annual interest. How much interest? Okay, so it's not asking you for her balance. It's asking you for her interest that she is going to receive in the savings account. It tells us the rate, and it tells us the time. It also tells us the principal. So because we're just finding interest, we're going to use I equals PRT. We're calculating the interest, so we don't know the I value. We know the principal is $725. We know the rate is 2.3%. So as a decimal, that would be 0.023. And we know that the time is 18 months. Well, this formula only takes time in years. So we're going to have to convert 18 months into years. So we do that by dividing the number of months by 12, but since there's 12 months in a year. So if you do 18 divided by 12, you get 1.5. So 18 months is equivalent to 1.5 years. So when we go enter time into our formula, we've got to use 1.5 instead of 18. If we use 18, then we're not going to get the right answer, because it's going to look like we left this money in the account for 18 years when the problem is asking for 18 months. We'll multiply all that in our calculator, and we're going to get an amount of an interest of $25.01. So we're just going to read the formula, read the problem, pick the formula, and then go from there and answer their questions. All right, next problem says Josh borrowed $250 from his mother to buy an electric scooter. Josh will pay her back in 1 year with 3% simple annual interest. How much interest? So again, they're asking for interest and not balance. So we're going to use the formula I equals PRT. We don't know the interest. That's what we're finding. Principal is how much you're either putting in your account, depositing, or how much you're borrowing. And it says that Josh is going to borrow $250. His rate of interest is 3%, and 3% as a decimal is 0.03. And he is going to borrow this money for 1 year. So we'll use 1. Time is always in years. Multiply those three numbers in your calculator. It says he's going to pay $7.50 worth of interest. You deposit $300 in a savings account that pays 4% simple annual interest. Find your account balance after 9 months. Okay, so we're going to use our balance formula here because they didn't say just calculate the interest, they said calculate the balance. So A is equal to the principal, which is 300, plus the principal again, times your rate as a decimal, so that would be 0.04, times your time in years. So we can't enter 9. If we enter 9, it looks like the problem is said 9 years. So we need to take our 9 months and we need to divide by 12. And that's going to give us 0.75 years. So 9/12 or 9 months would convert to 0.75 years. And then we actually can punch this straight into our calculator. 300 plus 300 times 0.04 times 0.75. And that calculates out to be $309. All right, let's look at the next 3 examples, and then you can try some on your own. Example 1 says, find the amount of interest paid. So these directions go with example 1 and example 2, and they're asking for the interest. So we're going to use the formula I equals PRT. So in example 1, we have I equals our principal, which is $335, times our percent as a decimal, that would be 0.052, times the number of years, which is going to be 2.5 years. Plug that into our calculator, and we get $43.55. Example 2, again, we're under the same set of directions, so we're finding interest, so we know to use the formula I equals PRT. So we're going to do I is equal to the principal, which is 1,225, times your rate as a decimal, which is going to be 0.083, times your time in years. Well, they're giving us our time in months. So we're going to have to take 42 months, and we're going to have to divide that by 12. All right, let me get my calculator out to do that. 42 divided by 12. 42 divided by 12. That's going to give me 3.5 years. So 42 months is the same thing as 3.5 years. Remember, we always have to use years in our formula. Multiply those 3 numbers together, and you get $355.86. That's a lot of interest, but again, we're going to leave this money in the account for 3.5 years, so you can see that your interest is going to be more there. All right, last problem. You deposit $800 in a savings account that pays 3.2% simple annual interest. Find your account balance. So again, read the direction and decide whether you're finding just the interest, which would be the formula I equals PRT, or whether they're asking you for the balance, which would be A equals P plus PRT. So we're doing the balance here. So A is going to be equal to the principal, 800, plus the principal again, times the rate as a decimal, times time in years. Well, they're giving us our time in months. So we're going to divide 15 by 12, since there's 12 months in a year, and that will convert our time to years. So 15 months, 15 divided by 12, gives us 1.25 years. And you're not going to want to round here. You're going to want to use that exact number. So if you'll just plug all this in your calculator, you're going to get $832. So that would be the balance after depositing $800 into the savings account that pays 3.2% interest. And you're going to leave it in there for 15 months. So at the end of 15 months, you have $832. All right, if you will use these examples to help you finish out this homework assignment, on the first 4 problems of your homework assignment, just kind of reminding you that you need to change all months into years, and then read your directions to see which formula you're going to use. On 5 through 12, you're going to use simple interest formula, I equals PRT. On 13 through 16, they're asking you to find the balance, so you're going to use the balance formula, A equals P plus PRT. And then 17 and 18 say write the rate as a decimal, then find the amount of simple interest. So you would be using I equals PRT for number 17 and number 18. It also says explain your answer.